to the extreme now. Put your pinkies up now, up, up now, up.
Back in 2009, when Princess and the Frog came out, I was so excited. As the mom of 3 little girls, I could see the potential, what a Black Disney princess, how that would affect the psyche of my 3 little girls. I was very excited to see a monoracial Black girl, beautiful little Black girl, Princess Tiana, be the center focus of a movie. I grew up on Disney princesses, and quite frankly, none of them looked like me. Cinderella, Belle, Snow White, Sleeping Beauty, I think her name was Princess Aurora. All of these women never looked anything like me. And I thought to myself, wow, Princess and the Frog gives an opportunity for girls who are of color, particularly Black girls, an opportunity to feel like a princess too. And then I saw the movie. So many of you, maybe you were about 9 or 10 years old in 2009 when The Princess and the Frog came out, and now you're in your early 20s. But looking back on that movie, and I suggest that you do, it's on Disney Plus, take a look at the messages, the subtle messages that were told to Princess Tiana that you didn't necessarily see in the princesses in other movies. For example, the movie opens with Tiana and her little friend hearing the story of the Princess and the Frog. The little blonde girl has stars in her eyes. She's thinking about a prince who is cursed by some evil witch, and her kiss and love restores him. But Princess Tiana, just Tiana at the time, thought about it, and she was like, you know what? I would never kiss a frog. That's disgusting.
Say goodnight, Tiana.
There is no way in this whole wide world I would never kiss a frog.
She said she would never, ever kiss a frog. And then we find out later that she does, right? But it starts with her having a specific set of standards. She's not going to lower her standards to kiss a frog. And metaphorically speaking, when we talk about dating, we say you gotta kiss a lot of frogs before you find your prince. And she said, I'm just not gonna kiss any frogs at all. So that was the first message that was a little bit problematic. She changes her mind later on because she's in a situation where she's desperate and she feels like she's going to have to compromise her values in order to get what she wants. Now fast forward to her young adult life. She is a worker. She has a dream. She works 2 jobs. She's saving all of her money so that she can fulfill her dream of being a restaurateur. She wants to open her own restaurant. That is her dream. What's very interesting, and while it's good for women to have ambition, I'm not knocking it. Of course I'm not. I have a lot of ambition too. But when you think about the other Disney princesses, yes, maybe they had hard times. They were forced to work. Think about Cinderella. But in the end, they were saved by the prince. In this case, Princess Tiana is not being saved by the prince. In fact, she's being ensnared by him. So when she realizes that she can't get the restaurant, she has not secured the funding for the restaurant, and someone comes in and pays cash and completely outbids her, she wishes upon a star, right? Remember, when you wish upon a star. And then Prince Naveen in frog form comes to her. But before we get to the encounter where they first meet, let's explore Prince Naveen. Prince Naveen is from a wealthy family, but quite frankly, he's a dusty. He is a dusty. He is a profligate spender. His parents are telling him that he needs to marry and they're going to cut him off. He spends all day just wanting to play music, flirt with women, be a womanizer, just have fun. And something else interesting about Prince Naveen, while he's going through all of this, he's realizing that he's cut off. There's someone who comes into his life, the shadow man. The shadow man knows what the desires of his heart is. He wants to be able to do what he wants to do, be a slacker. Prince Naveen is basically the modern day guy who lives with his parents in the basement playing video games all day. He doesn't want to grow up. He doesn't want to be a man. He just wants to have fun and have some girls along the way. And his parents say absolutely not. So instead of doing what he needs to do, and that is to grow up, be a man, start working, start being productive, start being a good example for the monarchy, for whatever country he represents, he meets the shadow man who says, hey, I can make it easy for you. You can still do all of the things that you want to do. You can still play music and run around and do all the things you want. And what you need to do, though, is marry one of these rich girls that's going to infuse all this money into the royal family. That's what you need to do. And so he gets tempted. He gets tempted by the shadow man to take the easy way out. Now let's think about this from a Black community perspective. How many men, how many boys have gone a certain path and said, you know what? Doing the right thing, getting my education, working hard, it's just too much work. I want to do what I want to do, still have fun, but still reap all of the benefits. So what can I do that's easy and that I can get the short-term payoff? You already know what that is. So Prince Naveen is that guy. He's Pookie. He is the Dusty that we want to avoid. Yes, he is so good looking. Prince Naveen is fine, right? But how many boys in the hood are fine, but they don't want to work? They're trying to get the easy way out. And that's Princess Tiana, not yet Princess Tiana, that's Tiana's love interest. A lazy, philandering man who does not take life seriously and who is easily led by negative forces around him. Does that sound familiar? Is it coming back to you? Is it starting to make sense? Okay, so now let's get to the part where Tiana meets Naveen in his frog form. Because here's the thing. When you deal with people who are negative, they make things sound good, don't they? But the realities of the situation are often quite different. And what you wish for is not always going to be what you get. So he goes in league with the shadow man. Things don't work out. He ends up being a frog. His assistant, his lackey, his footman, is impersonating him so he can marry the young wealthy girl, and he can eventually get all the money when he executes her father, when he murders the father. So that part is a little bit complicated. We can move past that. Basically, Prince Naveen now is a frog. He's got to figure out how he can get out of it. Enter Tiana. Tiana has just wished on the star. She is asking, can there be some miracle that can give me what I need to open my restaurant? She's not wishing for her true love. Well, in a way she is, but she's not wishing for a human true love. She's wishing for her love of cooking, her love of enjoying food and having people around her enjoy food to come true. And then here comes the frog. She's thinking, well, I remember way back when I said I would never kiss a frog, but times are tough. And here he is, he says he's a prince. And I just wished on this star, Lord, that's praying, right? You're praying for this. He comes up, he says, kiss me, and then you'll get what you want. She kisses him, And you know what happens? He does not become the prince. She becomes the frog. Let's think about that for a second, metaphorically. He's in this bad place. And he says, if you kiss me, if you do something for me, I will elevate you. If you help me, if you build me up, I will elevate you. But what ends up happening is she gets pulled down to his level. She becomes a frog. And then they go on this misadventure trying to figure out how to restore themselves. During that time where they're trying to restore themselves, they encounter people along the way. One of them is the good witch who says, you know, the prince wants these riches, you want this restaurant, but what do you really need? What is it that is really the most important thing? That sounds good on its surface, but then when you're thinking about the messages, particularly what Black girls and Black women get, is that, do you really need a man who is wealthy? Do you really need to be hypergamous? Maybe what you need is just a good man. That sounds great in theory, but the fact of the matter is that love is not enough. And here we are as Black women, we've literally been cultivated from the very beginning to build up a man, to settle, to compromise our values, to date hypogamously. That's the opposite of being hypergamous. We're taught to do those things. And oftentimes we encounter men who are just not mature. They're not on that level. But we as Black women are expected to raise them up to that level. And that's exactly what Tiana had to do. She had to compromise her values as well. And she had the wise old sage to tell her that maybe this is all you need. Maybe this is all you need. So over time, they do fall in love. It's a sweet story. And don't get me wrong, I loved the movie overall. It's cute, and the end is really cute, and it's all really cute. The problem is the message. The message that Tiana had to be the only princess that had that kind of ambition, who ended up having to rescue the prince as opposed to it being the other way around. And it would be okay to have that message if we weren't being sold that in one way or the other, either in real life, our friends, family, parents even telling us this is what our lives should be, the media telling us this is what our lives should be, music telling us this is what our lives should be. Why is it that the Black girl can never be the damsel of distress? Why does she always have to be so strong? Why does she always have to be the one to take care of everyone else? And this movie perpetuated those messages. As sweet as it was, as funny as it was, as heartwarming as it was, that was what the bottom line of it was. At the end, when they fall in love, Tiana says, if you marry, or Tiana says, listen, kiss my friend, and I think that'll work to get you restored to being the prince. They're working against the shadow man. Prince Naveen finally gets his act together, pulls his little froggy pants on, and decides to help out and get Tiana what she needs and stop being so selfish. So they get to that point. Her friend kisses him. He still remains a frog. And they're crestfallen. And they're like, you know what? This may be our life. We may have to go through the rest of our lives with this failure. We tried and tried, it didn't work, but hey, we've got each other. So let's just get married as frogs. And so the wise old woman sage marries Tiana and Prince Naveen as frogs. And she decides that this isn't exactly what I want. This is totally against what I wanted as a little girl, what I wanted to do as a little girl, what I wanted to be. But you know what? Sometimes you just gotta abandon what you want and focus on what you need. And so in that moment, when they marry and kiss, they are both restored. It's an amazing, magical moment. But you know what message that movie also told women, particularly Black girls and women, was that if you take a man as he is, you will be elevated. If you believe in him and your love, your strong Black woman love is going to be enough to restore the both of you and redeem the both of you, and your lives will be amazing. But we know that that is just a fairy tale. But all of those messages are not fairy tales. Those messages are things that we all experience every single day as Black women. These are the messages that are told to us that get us in relationships that are one-sided, that keep us struggling, that keep us at 80% heads of household, that keeps us unhealthy because we're trying to do everything. So the next time you think of Princess and the Frog, and I invite you to watch it again, and if you think that I'm full of it, see for yourself. Ladies, as beautiful as Tiana was, the lesson that she taught little Black girls and women was that you gotta work for everything. You gotta do everything. You have to accept, you have to believe in a man who doesn't really have any real potential. It's your job to build him up. And once you get down to his level and stop being so ambitious in your own desires, then you will be elevated and restored. What do you guys think? Tell me what you think in the comment section. Did you ever see Princess Tiana in that way? Did you ever see Princess and the Frog less than what I just told you? Are you rethinking all of it? I hope that you are, but I want to hear what you guys have to say in the comment section. I'm Crystalline Karazin, the creator of The Pink Pill and author of Swirling, How to Date, Mate, and Relate, Mixing Race, Culture, and Creed. Thanks so much for watching. Like, share, and subscribe. And as always, pinkies up.